So today we're going over how to apply fusible interfacing. So I'm going over two different methods that I've gotten from the manufacturers, specifically Pellon and Vilene. So this is how they recommend doing it. I'm going to go over the dry method and also the damp cloth method. Just a hint as well, you'll sometimes see information about how to apply it on the selvage edge. So today we're going to practice by interfacing these waistband pieces. So I've got two there, and I'm using a non-woven fusible interfacing. So that means it doesn't really matter what direction I cut this in. So I want to place my pattern piece on here and cut around it, but I'm just going to use the cutout fabric piece for now because that's what I've got. Now, technically you can just cut exactly the same size, but it's better to make your interfacing piece slightly smaller than your actual main fabric. So I think it was Pellon that recommended trimming the seam allowance so that it's about 2/8 of an inch. And the reason for that is we just don't need the seam allowances to be bulky and thicker. So personally, I don't like trimming it down afterwards. I just think it's an extra step. It's more time. So I will actually just cut it in the first place so it's just slightly smaller. So rather than that being on the exact edge, I'm just going to pull it down a bit. So I'm just letting the main fabric overlap slightly. Also, another pro of this is that when you iron on your interfacing, you won't get any overlap and then have it all over your ironing board, which I have tons of. So this pattern piece is 5/8 of an inch, so I kind of want to lose 3/8 of an inch. Although I'll admit I'm not being super precise. So this is what it looks like. It could do with being just a bit shorter, actually. Oh, no, now I still have to trim it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use this. So I'm pretty happy with the size of that. And I'm going to use that to cut out my next piece. So we've got both of our interfacing pieces cut out. I'm going to use the dry method to apply that one and the damp cloth method for this one. Okay, so here's the dry method. Grab your fabric, and we're looking for the wrong side of the fabric. So for me, that's this side. And then we're looking for the gluey side of the interfacing. So one side will be smooth and the other will be slightly bumpy with the glue dots. So it's really important. Make sure the side of the glue dots is attached to the wrong side of the fabric. I'm just going to give it a few pins so it stays in place while I transport it to the ironing board. We're now going to press the fusible interfacing so that it glues itself to the fabric. And the temperature setting you use on your iron, and also how long you need to hold it on the fabric for, is going to differ according to your interfacing. So generally I saw 8 to 10 seconds when I was doing my research, holding it down for 8 to 10 seconds and using a low heat. So for this one, I've been told to use a silk/wool iron setting. I'm not going to use any steam. I'm not using a damp cloth. This is literally just the iron. So I like to start in the middle and then work my way out to the sides, because I find sometimes if I start on one edge and then move, by the time I've got to here, it's shifted the interfacing a bit. I'm going to hold my iron on top of that for 8 to 10 seconds. I'm going to lift it up and then move to the next bit. I'm just slightly overlapping the area I've done before, so I'm making sure there's no gaps that haven't had any heat on them. And when I get to the area where I've pinned it, I'm just going to remove the pin. Okay, I'm just having like a quick check that I haven't missed any areas. See, can you see that's sort of peeling off already? So I'm just going to go over that one more time. I'm looking for any like bubbles where I've missed something, or any edges where it just hasn't gone down. But the proper time to do this is actually when it's cooled down. It needs that time for the adhesive to set. I'm just having a quick check right now. Okay, I feel like this is the hardest bit. Now we need to just let the piece cool flat for about 20 minutes. Yes, 20 minutes. I'm not joking. I know that's really hard, but if you just batch interface your pieces like the day before you sew them or something, just make sure it has that time for the glue to properly set. Make sure when you're leaving it to cool down that it's not on like it's not on a bumpy surface or anything. We just want this on a flat surface. And now I'm just going to move on to the damp cloth method. So I've got this piece of cotton that I'm going to go and wet right now. And then squeeze the water out. So I just want this to be damp. I can't squeeze any more water out now. What I'm going to do is get this damp cloth and I'm just going to place it on top of the fabric. I'm just being careful that I'm not shifting the pieces. Okay, I'm putting my iron on top and I'm going to wait 8 to 10 seconds. And after 10 seconds, the damp fabric, the damp cloth, it should be dry. So if it's not dry at that point, either you can increase the temperature on your iron or you can hold the iron down for a few more seconds. All I can feel it hot. So I'm going to wait for that for a second so I can figure out whether this thing's dry or not. Okay, that feels dry to me. And yeah, it has adhered, so it's stuck on. Okay, now I'm just going to work my way. Oh, you guys, I totally forgot I was supposed to start in the middle. Alright, never mind. And this time I picked another spot on the wet cloth. I'm not going over the same dry area because then I can't figure out when it goes from damp to dry. So that's what it looks like. Can you see the 2 giant dry areas? And I'm going to use this last spot and then I'm going to make it wet again. The next thing to do is flip it over to the right side. And then steam press it from this side. Now let the fabric cool and then come back and check that it's all bonded properly.